news that I wanted to take a look at, because we always like to take a look at this space, is to see what's going on in the realm of Dungeons and Dragons, just to see if there's any new video games, any new role-playing games that are coming out, and it doesn't look like it. A lot of the news that I've seen, this is what news is trending right now in Dungeons and Dragons. We know that the new rule books are coming out. We're getting this year, 2024, new Player's Handbook, new Dungeon Master's Guide, new Monster Manual. Fantastic, right? Apparently, according to this feed right here, the new rule books are 96% new artwork. So if you're a fan of the old art style, or if you were hoping that they did like a throwback to the vintage look and feel of the original books, that's not happening. They are basically doubling down on new art. I don't know how much of the art. My feeling is, if they're going to hire modern artists to do the work, likely a lot of it's going to be touched on by AI, even though, because the genie's out of the bottle with AI. So artists have now realized that AI makes it much easier to make things. Like a great example is the music that I've been making. I can make a song in a couple of days where it would have taken me a couple of months with the help of these AI tools that they have now. I don't have to worry about singers going out and drinking too much the night before, getting in a fight with their significant other, being wasted and not being able to hit the notes, like, because I can use an AI singer. I don't have to worry about the guy I hired to play guitar, deciding that he doesn't like the idea that I had, so wants to do something else, or like we spend the weekend working on a song and then he ends up ripping off the stuff that he learned from me and making it with other people for his own album. Like, all this stuff has happened to me in the past dealing with humans, and now I can bypass all of that and just deal with AI directly. So from my perspective as an artist, while it's not perfect, a hammer isn't perfect. You can accidentally, smash your hand under the hammer, but it's still the best tool to get a nail down, right? One of the best, not the only tool to do it, but so now we have these new tools. So I would be really surprised if these artists weren't using it to help. But I know that there's been a lot of concern in the media about like 100% AI generated stuff. So I don't know. I haven't read this story. I'm not going to waste any time on it, because if you're interested in reading about what they're doing for the rule books, you can certainly check out what they're doing. But this is exciting here, that the core rule books, the Dungeon Master's Guide and the Player's Handbook, are going to actually have player housing, which that's great. That touches into our video game space. What I keep calling for in DDO is for us to get player housing. I've been asking for it since they launched the game. I think it would be a great addition to Dungeons and Dragons Online. I think that we could even go back to the original rules, the Dungeons and Dragons box, the red box set, or was it blue or red? I forget. I think it was red. The box set where you made a fighter, and at level 10 you got a keep, a wizard at level 10 you got a tower, a cleric at level 10 you got a temple, a level 10 rogue, you got the rogues guild, so that kind of thing. So I think that this particular part right here, the core rule books that are going to have world building aspects built into them, that from my perspective is extremely good for us in the video game space, because I think it will further not only SSG and DDO, right? Because if you look at SSG, 50% of their game has a ton of player housing. Lotro has, they do Lotro and DDO. Half of it has a ton of player housing. They have the old housing in Lotro. They have the new housing. They have the other new housing. Like, there's just a lot of housing over in Lotro. They also have like 1,000 horses. They have like 1,000 outfits. They have like hundreds of events that go on all year. So what I keep hoping happens, and I keep asking for, is for these very ambitious people who are working on Lotro to come over and help out DDO. We need player housing over in DDO. We need more events over in DDO. We need more cosmetics over in DDO. We need more horses and mounts in DDO. Like, we need a lot more of the amenities that make this world building. And this is exactly what they're saying in this news story. The new core rule books are going to elaborate on this world building and sort of make it easier for, if you play the pen and paper version, to get a house or some sort of like a living situation for your adventurer. Now, whether or not that fits into an actual campaign with your dungeon master, or if you're DMing a campaign, I don't know. As far as we're concerned, because we're just concerned about video games, this sort of thing, like I said, it's nice to see. It won't directly impact us unless, like, a new video game developer decides to utilize these books when they're making whatever new D&D game comes out in the future. And it's good for this stuff to be in there. That way they can decide as they're making the game, well, this seems like something that the community playing pen and paper embrace. Let's bring it to the video game. So from my perspective, that's good. This is an interesting bit of news too, and this isn't anything we'll spend a lot of time on, but it is kind of about video games, where right now the most popular, I guess they're saying the best, I'll air quote best because I don't know who rated that as the best D&D module. Maybe it's like the best selling, maybe it's the most popular, maybe it's the one that's played the most online, but it's this Chains of Asmodeus. But it was written by apparently the writer of Baldur's Gate 3. So what people are saying is that this module, and I haven't picked this up, although I'm tempted to because I'm a huge fan of the Baldur's Gate story. Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus rates as one of the best Dungeons & Dragons 5e modules out there right now. Okay, and so it looks like you actually go to Avernus. It was originally sold as a prequel to Baldur's Gate 3, but then became its own sort of a thing. That's really cool. That makes me hope that whatever company picks up Baldur's Gate 3 decides to source this material and this writer. I don't know the writer's name. So that's actually a good sign, because one of the great things about Baldur's Gate wasn't so much what Larian did with the turn-based game and the cinematics. It clearly was awesome. But a lot of it had to do, the reason why it was great, it had to do with the writing. So the writing was just like first rate. So I think that the fact that this particular person's module is doing really well might make it so that whatever happens next for Baldur's Gate 4 might use this as source material. I would like to find out the name of the author, but it's not, it doesn't look evident. Arcanum World Presents. So that's something that I'll have to just Google. Yeah, I don't see it here. It could be, though, that they are sort of downplaying the actual author because they want to just push it as like Wizards of the Coast. It does, they are saying some authors' names here. Adrian Tchaikovsky and James Olin. Oh, he wrote Knights of the Old Republic, Dragon Age Origins. Dude, Dragon Age Origins was really good. And the first two Baldur's Gate games. That's not a surprise to me, because Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 are sort of really similar in their tone and what happens with the Child of Baal to the Dragon Age Origins story. Not exact, but they're similar in tone. Knights of the Old Republic I played a long time ago, and I don't remember that story being as dark, but that's good to know. It's a matter of fact, It's one of the interesting things, Dragon Age Origins. If you look at the Dragon Age Origin trailer and then you look at the Veilguard trailer, the game that they're making and releasing now, they are tonally like completely different. It's almost like they took a horror, an RPG Dungeons and Dragons horror story and made it into basically like a pastel Guardians of the Galaxy wannabe comedy. Like that's what Veilguard seems like to me when I watched that trailer. I'm talking about the new trailer for Dragon Age Veilguard. It's something to watch. We haven't watched them on stream just because I think if I were to watch it on stream here, if people were interested, I would watch the Origins trailer first, or we would watch them both together just so you could see what I'm talking about. It's very easy. You do this yourself. Like look up Dragon Age Origins trailer and then look up the Veilguard like the trailer. They're just completely different. It's almost like if you're going to change the genre, if you're going to change the story that much, why not just change the name of the game? And so this happens a lot in the space of like secondary worlds where companies want to make money, right? So they will utilize an existing franchise in order to keep the player base, and yet they will just take it off in a completely new direction. We're seeing this with Star Wars. If any of you out there have suffered through the Acolyte, first off, I feel sorry that you weren't able to turn it off and walk away from that garbage. But if you did, you know exactly what I'm talking about, that it's nothing like what Lucas originally envisioned for that. They are going off on their own fan fiction somewhere, and it's just complete. It's not what I'm looking for. So I've given up the Star Wars universe as a place that I consider interesting or my own. Whoever, I don't know who they're making these stories for, but it's not me. So, they can have it for all I care. When Lucas sold it, 2012 pretty much is the rip date for me for Star Wars. I keep hoping that they, inject some art back into it. And what I mean to be really specific is that Lucas took us to worlds that we had never seen before, and he showed us things that we had never imagined before. That was the whole lure of that universe. The Force was a mystical power that we could understand because it referenced things here around us that we already feel. He didn't have to jump into some crazy idea set. Like, he just basically talked about very simple things in a way that we can understand. Everybody can understand the battle between good and evil because we all have it in ourselves. That was one of the great things about the Luke Skywalker story arc, where when he goes into the cave, he sees that if he isn't careful, he's going to wind up in the mask himself. Like that, a lot of the things that happened when he gets his hand cut off and then he finds out Vader's hand also got cut off, like he sees these parallels and it helps his story arc. It's something that is very important in what Lucas sort of envisioned as the arc of the hero going through this universe, right? With all these weird aliens, that they were sort of there just because he was telling the story like it is. Another great thing that he did was that his universe is aged so that like the Millennium Falcon looked like it was falling apart. You watch that in these new shows and all this stuff is done because Lucas did it. In other words, the writers aren't springing new stuff up to tell us a story, to show us something new. What they are doing is they're trying to tick off boxes to make money, because they know that we want to see lightsabers, we want to see aliens, we want to see, Sith or Jedi or whatever. And so they show us this bullshit and say, okay, there it is. Now, can we have your money? It's stupid. So, I mean, every once in a while, there's, some good stuff in the fan fiction space, but to me, it's just all fan fiction. So that's sort of a rant that has nothing to do with D&D game news, but it does sort of arc around because the universe that we live in as gamers is all informed by this stuff, right? Like, I mean, I play a Star Wars video game. Dungeons and Dragons and Star Wars as secondary worlds share some things in the sense that in Star Wars you have the Force and D&D you have magic. But so hopefully here is a the next D&D video game revealed. Disney Dreamlight Valley dev announces a survival. See, this is what I was talking about, right? We actually looked at in a couple weeks ago, we looked at Dune Ascended as a survival RPG that this new D&D game is being built like. And so this is the follow-up story to that. This company, I believe, is in Canada. Disney Dreamlight Valley. I've never heard of them, but it is a survival life sim action RPG hybrid in the D&D universe. Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro develop a game set in the Forgotten Realms. All right, there we go. We know it's in the Forgotten Realms. Same setting as Baldur's Gate. They're trying to capitalize on the audience. Like we just said, they know that people want more Baldur's Gate, so they're going to put it in the Forgotten Realms. And as a matter of fact, just for our perspective, one of the reasons that people don't flock to GDO and like play it, I believe, and this is speculation, but it's because the DDO happened as the result of the contest where Eberron was selected as the new secondary world for Dungeons and Dragons. Eberron, while it had a short-lived like fan surge, really never took off as a popular setting, and now it's very sort of like fringe. Not many people play Eberron. It's unfortunate because it actually is a really well thought out and interesting secondary world, but the Forgotten Realms being high fantasy that everybody wants from Tolkien and that sort of thing, where it's Elminster is basically Gandalf. That is just way more popular. So most people today who are playing 5e Dungeons and Dragons are playing in the Forgotten Realms. So it's not to say everyone, obviously. Eberron still sells books. People still play in like Ravenloft, and people still, hopefully, Dragonlance now is going to be, they're releasing a whole bunch of new stuff in the Dragonlance space. So hopefully the world of Krynn now becomes super popular, because I think just from a writer's perspective, Dragonlance is far superior to just about any other. I mean, this is personal opinion, obviously, but it's just a really well thought out secondary world, and it's super fun. And I loved all those modules and the novels. So, but it looks like I don't see a date like a year, a target. Interesting to see what a Forgotten Realms survival RPG sim will look like. Something like Baldur's Gate meets Animal Crossing meets Palworld. Well, Palworld is a great game. So I'll post the link to that on when I upload this video about the news. And so that's the link for the video game. We already knew about that, but it doesn't look like there's any new video games coming out. Look, this news is already back to February, so unfortunately, like, we like to keep up with the stuff, but it's not, and this is not a surprise in D&D space, because the president of Wizards of the Coast stepped down. She no longer works for Wizards of the Coast, so now they are kind of leaderless, and they are just sort of like, I guess, doubling down on the 50th anniversary with the new books and just letting the community do their thing. But it's unfortunate considering how 2023 was sort of like a meteoric blast of D&D because of Baldur's Gate, and now it's sort of like, it's like everything in that space is just dropping off a cliff. Obviously, people are still playing Baldur's Gate, but the biggest news in the video game space as far as RPGs go is Elden Ring. Elden Ring is coming out with a DLC. Kai is doing a stream. He released this awesome video about how he's going to live stream the entire DLC. Even if it takes him 100 hours to do it, he's going to do it all in one stream. Like, it's a really interesting time to be in the space of RPG fantasy itself. And it's really cool that some of these big streamers are interested, especially Elden Ring has been voted number of times as one of the best video games of all time. So that's really cool. But as far as D&D specifically, we have to wait to see more news from this. We do have, though, in our own DDO, the Chaosmancer, the DLC for Myth Draenor, and the Wild Magic system.
Where are you going? Hunting for gold that is flowing. Somewhere in the cold world, yet there is no knowing. Hey la, oh la 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 la. We love games, there's a standing stone. Let's make camp. We love games, let's make camp and play more games. Hey la, oh la 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 la. We love games. Where are you going? There's no knowing what magic awaits, what evil is growing. Hey la, oh la la la. Ooh, we love games, there's a standing stone. Let's make camp. We love games, let's make camp and play more games. Hey la, oh la la. We love games. We love games. All crypts is folly. Just play games and be jolly. Magical treasures hide in the dark, so rest and embark. Ooh, we love games, there's a standing stone. Let's make camp. We love games, let's make camp and play more games. Hey la, oh la la. We love games. Hunting on princess folly. Just play games and be jolly. Magical treasures hide in the dark, so rest and embark. We love games, there's a standing stone. Let's make camp. We love games, let's make camp and play more games. Hey la.